All right, welcome to lesson number 9, where we're going to be focusing on psychological safety. This is kind of the end result of using these emotionally scientific tools. You'll create emotional intelligence for yourself, but you create psychological safety for your team. So what does psychological safety result in? Well, Google did a study about psychological safety because they were curious as to what made a team truly successful, because they have lots of teams in Google. So they studied education, they studied determination, and all these other factors like purpose and goal setting. And then they added this other factor, psychological safety. And they found that psychological safety was the number one factor in creating a productive, innovative team. And they measured that team output against all their other teams. The ones with the highest psychological safety correlated highly to the ones with the most productive, innovative output. Didn't matter if they had Ivy League education, lofty goals, and had a high purpose and innovation. No. It was psychological safety. So these emotionally scientific skills that we're talking about here have a huge impact on how well each team will function. And it's very dependent from team to team. So your team leaders and the work that each team does is really significant in being able to create psychological safety. You can't just sprinkle it down from the top to the bottom. The upper management can create opportunity and examples for the others to do, but each leader needs to be trained individually. So to be a great leader, you've got to have a great way to train your culture. Great leadership doesn't just osmote into all corners of your organization. You have to intentionally cultivate culture and create psychologically safe teams. That's why this unit on emotional psychology and emotional science is so important, that you get this into your teams. That's why we selected it, because it's the number one way to get teams. Now, Amy Edmondson from Harvard was really the person who coined this term earlier in her life. And she studied it within organizations within the medical world. And she found that, again, teams with high levels of psychological safety were better learners, better innovators, better quality, had higher satisfaction. We see this again and again, where we're ticking off all these satisfaction bells, all these productivity bells, all these working bells with tools that affect the emotional output, the emotional situation of a team. So it's very critical that you pay attention during these psychological skills, that you gain these skills so that you can use them in your teams for the sake of the patients, for the sake of the team that's running the procedures. It's just can't be understood enough that this is an area of significance for your teamwork, to focus on these psychological foundations. Now, a McKinsey study showed that in order to get this, you do have to invest time. It definitely takes time. The ones that were able to pull this off, according to this McKinsey study, took time, and they had a specific type of training, like we're giving you here, in order to do this. So in order to be a great leader, you have to have a great curriculum, because you can't just use your instincts and just osmote those to other people. Now, we've taken years and years to create this curriculum, and these are based on decades of studies of what works and what doesn't in the workplace. And that's why I've selected the 80-20 rule, the things that will get you closest to that 80% of things that will get you the most success in your work. So this is one of them. Investing time and training your people in emotional safety, psychological safety, and emotional science is going to be critical for your organization. Applied Psychology, which is a journal, it showed that psychologically safe teams, these teams where people were 10% more productive. So again, just another statistic to underline the fact that this is going to increase productivity. So every moment, every dollar that you put into this is going to yield exponential dividends. So take time, invest in this, and you'll become a more productive team across the board. Okay, culture, actions, and training. Again, just to underscore this, that your actions as a leader do transmit to your team. It doesn't transmit to somebody else's team, it transmits to your team. Your actions do, and your training does as well. So you have to combine those two things as a leader, actions and training. You can't transmit what's up here without having some sort of a good curriculum. And that's why we've created this here at VP Culture, so that you can transmit this. Now, motivational interviewing, story time. And we're going to dive into the story here. And here we go. This one, unfortunately, is a story about Wells Fargo. It's a negative outcome that they created. Now, they created a negative culture of high stress sales. They had this saying that 8 is great. They wanted people to open up 8 different accounting or banking tools per customer. That was a lot of pressure for their sales force to get each person to open up 8. And the pressure was so intense that people felt that we're going to be fired. So it increased this negative current of emotions. And it didn't increase. People weren't allowed to say, I can't get people to do 8. I can get some of them to do 8, but not very. That's a pretty rare stance to get someone to get that many. So what happened? Wells Fargo could only see up, up, up. And so their people felt all this pressure to perform. And what they started to do is they cheated. They opened up bogus accounts. When they were away, they went on their computer and opened up accounts for people that were fake. They might transfer a little money into them, and people would say, hey, where did I get this account? What is this going on? Oh, I don't know. And they would lie about it. And the whole thing came out finally after this was happening with thousands of employees. This isn't just a few people who were greedy and unethical. No, it was pervasive across the organization. Scary. It's what that fight, flight, flock can do. So this is, again, a negative story about what can happen if you don't take action in this area. If you don't apply psychological safety to your teams, you could end up like Wells Fargo, who lost a large amount of their stock value. It took a huge ding to their reputation, and they lost a lot of employees as a result of it as well. So it ended up in frustration because the emotional pain that each employee was feeling was tremendous, because there was so much pressure for each employee to perform that they just couldn't handle it. And so that's what caused the falsification. So to summarize here, we've come to the end of our 9 lessons here and to the end of this section. Emotional science is all about valuing people. It's the number one way to bring a team together and to get them to perform and to cohere together as a team. It is a hugely powerful tool, and I hope that you've learned a lot in our lessons throughout these 9 sections. The bottom line is this, that valuing people is what motivates all people, and emotions are what communicate that to each other. So we as human beings value each other, and we do that through emotional communication. More than words, more than rational thought. We do it through emotional communication, and those who have the skills to do it will lead well and lead people to what really motivates themselves. The one thing that motivates all people is valuing people. So that's the core of this lesson, and it's done through emotional communication. Okay, so let's answer our group questions now. What is it like to be in an environment where you have to guess what someone is feeling? What is it like? Question number 2. What is it like to be in an environment where you feel free to discuss emotional realities? Question number 3. How do environments feel where candor is low and judgment is high? And question number 4. Have you been in a team that was psychologically safe? How did that affect you? All right, so that brings us to the end of this whole unit. And this lesson, wide focus together. And that's the end of the emotional science section. The next section will be value science, and we hope to join you in that next section shortly.